24/7 Fusion Media.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy, 24/7 here with 24/7 Fusion Media. And over the weekend, there was a comic book auction over at Heritage Auctions. And it was an event that lasted for a few days, from April 4th to April 7th. It was called Comics and Comic Art Signature Auction, which included Action Comics #1 being sold, along with the Avengers, Justice League, Wonder Woman, and Daredevil being some of the comic books that were actually hitting their record level prices of them being sold. So it says here, over in Dallas, Texas, April 4th, a copy of Action Comics #1, the comic book that introduced Superman to the world in 1938, sold for $6 million Thursday at Heritage Auctions during the first session of the latest 4-day Comics and Comic Art Signature Auction. Graded CGC Very Fine at an 8.5. This issue from the Kansas City pedigree is one of the world's finest copies. Only 2 other unrestored issues featuring Superman's first flight, or at least his first step over a tall building, have ever graded higher. Wow. That's some shit. I mean, just to think, 1938 Action Comics #1, starring Superman, in 2024 going for $6 million. That's a hell of a price. And I mean, that's not any kind of small chump change to scoff at. I mean, $6 million is huge. According to the CGC list of the most expensive comic books ever reported sold, a copy of Superman #1 sold privately for $5.3 million in 2022. Sold for $5.3 million. Wow. That's awesome. And it says here that Amazing Fantasy #15 that scores at a 9.6 CGC featuring Spider-Man sold for $3.6 million over at Heritage in September of 2021. Wow. It says here there's only 78 copies of Action Comics #1 in CGC's population report, with the grading service estimating there are a scant 100 survivors of the comic book that launched the superheroes into popular culture. So there's only 100 left out of 200,000 copies printed by DC Comics' predecessor, National Allied Publications. There's a few reasons for that. Definitely, there was that comic purge back in the 50s that decimated comic books all around America. Then there was the fact that comic books were supposed to be made to be read and thrown in the garbage. So how many were read and just tossed out? How many parents just took their kids' comic book collection and actually just threw them in the trash? Thought that maybe the kids were too old for them. And, little Johnny doesn't need his comic book collection anymore. So they'll go ahead and trash it or give it away or all kinds of other shit. And boom, so many years later, out of 200,000 copies, there's only 100 left. And it says in September of 2023, an issue of Action Comics #1 graded at a 0.5 sold for $408,000. So even a dog shit 0.5 graded, slabbed and everything, went for almost close to $500,000. Wow. So people want Action Comics #1 so bad, they'll even take the dog shit copy that's a fucking 0.5 and fucking spend almost $500,000 for that. That's very telling. Very, very telling. Wow. And it says here, Thursday was a super day on several fronts as Siegel's historic 1934 letter to the comic book strip artist Russell Keaton, describing the Man of Steel who could have been a time traveler from Earth's far-flung future, realized a $264,000 to open the 4-day Comics and Comic Art event. So even getting a letter talking about what Superman could have been went for 200,000 plus. And it also says here that a professionally restored copy of Action Comics #1 bearing the CGC grade of an apparent 8.0, which realized for $576,000, an all-time high for any restored comic book. So they'll even take a restored comic graded as an 8.0 and will sit there and actually spend about $500,000 on that. So whether it's a dog shit copy or a restored copy, people want Action Comics #1. And that lets you know where the popularity of comic books are going for real tried and true collectors. Very interesting. One of the 5 best copies of 1963's The Avengers, featuring Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Ant-Man, and the Wasp, sparked a bidding war during Thursday's first session, and in the end, the CGC near mint copy of the book, written by Stan Lee and drawn by Jack Kirby, realized for $432,000, a new record for this beloved title. Wow. And speaking of super copies of comic books featuring the super teams, there are 2 copies of Justice League #1 graded near 9.6 and none higher. That's why this stunning copy of the Super Friends' first outing in their own title realized a record-setting of $348,000, and that's for a mint copy of Justice League issue #1. That is some shit. And another CGC mint 9.6 copy of a comic book that featured Wonder Woman's second appearance is sensational in every regards, is a copy of Sensational Comics issue #1 that is the highest graded copy in the world on Thursday, sold for $420,000. And it says here that The Man Without Fear debuted in Daredevil issue #1, sold for $360,000, which was a near mint 9.8 copy. That's some cool shit. And it says Doctor Strange debuted in Strange Tales #110, realized for a record-setting $150,000, which was near mint a 9.6. So all this went down on Thursday, and over the weekend they had a sale over at Heritage Auctions that concerned comics and comic art. And if you guys don't know, Heritage Auctions is over there in Dallas, Texas. So I've went to their website when I was buying all my comics, and I was actually getting autographed comics. I was doing all kinds of shit, and I did all kinds of unboxings on this channel. When I did that, I looked through Heritage stuff, and they have some real quality things over there at Heritage's Auctions. So if you guys haven't checked it out, yeah, please do. It's just great to see that people are really taking interest in these comic books, and over time, they're starting to see, their value as far as people holding them to the standards that they deserve to be held to. Because comic books are great pieces of art. I love comic books, hands down. I love comic books, and that'll be something that'll never change. So just wanted to share this with y'all. I just thought it was cool as hell to see these cool ass comics sell for these kind of prices, and they should, because they're very they're worthy of costing this much. We all love our superheroes, right? So that's my take. That's how I feel. You guys, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And as always, it's your boy 24/7 here with 24/7 Fusion Media, and I'm out. Peace.